The first thing you need to know is, I never planned to be here. Not in this fancy French restaurant in Manhattan. Not in a black dress that probably costs more than a car payment. And definitely not shaking like a rookie on my first blind date in 8 years. But here I was, Sophia Williams, 30 years old, the woman who built a tech empire from ashes. Sitting at table 7 with a glass of Chardonnay, pretending I wasn't about to bolt. You know what I mean? The door swung open and everything stopped. A tall man, broad-shouldered, soaked from the rain, walked in holding the hand of a little girl with silver blonde hair that shimmered under the soft lights. Her blue eyes, God, they were so blue, locked on me, and just like that, tears rolled down her cheeks. "Daddy," she whispered, her voice breaking. "It's her, the lady from my dreams." Before anyone could react, the girl tore away from him, rushed straight to me, and grabbed my hands like she'd been waiting for this moment her whole life. "You're my real mom," she said, her voice trembling but certain. "I remember you." I couldn't breathe. My heart stopped because, 8 years ago, I had a daughter, Luna. I held her for seconds before the world bled red, and then, they told me she died. 8 years. That's how long I'd mourned her. I remember whispering a lullaby. "You are my Luna, my only Luna," slipping a silver bracelet with her name onto her tiny wrist before darkness took me. When I woke up, they said she never made it. Became the youngest female CEO in Silicon Valley, worth $500 million by 30. But success? It felt hollow. Every night, I touched that silver bracelet in my bedside drawer and cried for the daughter I never got to hold. And now this little girl, this stranger, was staring at me with Luna's eyes. Her father, Ryan Mitchell, looked embarrassed, pulling her back. "I'm so sorry. She has an active imagination." But the girl wasn't done. "You sing to me in my dreams. You smell like flowers and rain." I reached into my purse, pulled out the velvet box I carried everywhere like a talisman, and opened it. There it was, the same silver bracelet. "My daughter," my voice cracked. "She died 8 years ago. They told me she never. She's not dead." The girl, Lena, said simply, "I'm her. I'm Luna." We left the restaurant in chaos. Ryan still trying to apologize as if he hadn't just dropped a bomb on my entire life. He was a single dad. The pieces started fitting together like a nightmare puzzle. By midnight, I had my legal team digging into records from San Francisco General Hospital. Bleary-eyed and nervous, pulled dusty files. The death certificate for Baby Williams was full of inconsistencies, eraser marks, a missing physician signature, even a crossed-out note about successful resuscitation. And then an old janitor, his hands still stained from years of cleaning, stepped forward. "I remember that night," he said. "Young mother. Bleeding bad. But there was this older lady, rich, diamonds even in the ER, telling doctors to let nature take its course. Said her daughter's mistake had been handled. Cold as winter, that one." My stomach turned to ice. "Did she have silver hair? A diamond choker?" He nodded. "My mother, Victoria Williams." It all made sense now. She'd paid to erase my daughter's existence. Rewritten the story so I'd grieve quietly while Luna was shipped to another ward as an abandoned Jane Doe. Jessica Mitchell, the nurse who later adopted her, had unknowingly saved her. "So you finally found out," she said. "Sitting like this was a board meeting. You should be grateful. Look what you've accomplished because of me. Would you have become CEO with a baby in tow?" I snapped. 8 years of grief exploded. "You stole my daughter. You stole our life." "I gave you both better lives," she replied coolly. "The child was loved by someone who wanted her. You became successful beyond measure. Everyone won." Lena, wise beyond her years, stepped forward, her small voice cutting sharper than any courtroom speech. "You're wrong. We cried for each other every night. That's not winning. That's surviving." For the first time, my mother's icy mask cracked. Regret flickered, but it was too late. Lena looked her in the eye and said, "I forgive you, but you need to leave now. We have a family to build, and you're not part of it." My lawyers whispered about fraud, conspiracy, kidnapping charges that could destroy my mother's empire. Ryan sat quietly, clutching Lena like he might lose her any second, because legally, he had no rights against a biological mother with my resources. But I looked at him, at the man who had given up everything to raise my daughter when I couldn't, and made a choice. "No courts," I said. "No headlines. Lena's been through enough. She needs stability. She needs her dad. We'll figure this out together. Ryan stared at me like he didn't believe it. Together? You live in penthouses. I count quarters for laundry. Your boardrooms, I'm gym mats. Oil and water don't mix. You gave up war zones to braid her hair, I said, my voice steady. You loved her when I couldn't. That makes you family in any world. That was 6 months ago. Now, we live in a modest house in Palo Alto with a yard Lena can paint in. We share mornings, school pickups, bedtime stories. I'm learning to cook, badly. He's teaching me how to set boundaries with love, and Lena, our little moonlight miracle, is teaching us both what family really means. Some nights, I catch Ryan reading to her, his big hands turning pages gently, and I think about how far we've come. Other nights, I sing Lena that same lullaby, and she falls asleep smiling. Some families are born. Ours was chosen by love. And maybe that's true. Maybe love is the only thing that makes a family real. But tell me, if you were me, if the person who stole 8 years of your life walked back in tomorrow, begging forgiveness, would you forgive them? Or would you burn everything they built to the ground? Yeah, think about that. And let me know what you'd do if you'd think after that night everything would be smooth sailing, right? Happy endings, family dinners, perfect photo albums. Yeah, no? Life doesn't work that way. Not when you're rebuilding 8 years of stolen time and trying to blend two worlds that never should have met in the first place. The first month was brutal. Lena clung to Ryan like a life raft, refusing to sleep in the new house unless he stayed beside her. And honestly, I didn't blame her. She'd spent her entire life with him as her anchor. From day one, she called me Mom. Soft and careful at first, like testing the word, then louder, proud. But love takes more than DNA, and I had to earn it. The first breakthrough came on a rainy Tuesday. Ryan had been stuck at the gym late, and Lena insisted on staying with me. I tried reading her a bedtime story, something about a talking rabbit and a lost hat. But halfway through, she frowned. You're reading it wrong, she said, snatching the book. I'm sorry, sweetheart, I said, trying not to sound hurt. She studied me for a long second, then sighed, almost like she was dealing with a stubborn little kid. Daddy does voices. Like this. She launched into the most dramatic rabbit impression I'd ever heard, complete with twitching nose. So I tried. Badly. She laughed so hard she snorted. And I swear that sound was better than every applause I'd ever gotten at a board meeting. She handed the book back. Okay, Mom. You're getting better. Just don't do the squirrel voice again. I think that's the night she stopped seeing me as just Sophia Williams, tech CEO, and started seeing me as her mom. Ryan, that's another story. He tried to keep things strictly about Lena at first. But you can't live in the same orbit every day without gravity pulling you closer. He'd show up early to cook breakfast, pancakes shaped like stars because Lena insisted, and I'd find myself watching the way he moved in my kitchen, humming to himself, hair still damp from his morning run. One evening, after Lena fell asleep, we sat on the porch swing, watching rain streak the windows. He didn't say anything for a long time, just stared out at the yard. Then, quietly, he said, "You're better at this than you think." At what? I asked. Being a mom. You're learning fast. I laughed, a little bitter. Fast? I missed 8 years of her life. 8 birthdays. 8 first days of school. You raised her, Ryan. You're the one who should be proud. He looked at me then, really looked. And yet he'd never once acted like raising Lena was a burden. But not everyone was happy with our little arrangement. My mother. Oh, she didn't stay gone for long. 2 months after I confronted her, she showed up unannounced at my office, looking as polished as ever, like nothing had happened. I want to see my granddaughter, she said, sitting across from me like she still had any power here. I laughed, sharp and humorless. You want? You don't get to want anything, Mother. Not after what you did. Her eyes narrowed. I did what was best for you. And for her. Don't you dare stand there and pretend you did this for her. You did this to protect yourself. She hesitated then, something flickering in her perfect mask. Regret? Maybe. Or maybe just frustration that I wasn't falling back in line. Let me see her, Sophia. She's my blood too. And here's where it gets messy. Right? Lena asked quietly. Technically. I admitted, unsure where this was going. Then maybe she needs to see me. Maybe she needs to remember what love feels like. People can change, Mom. You did. Daddy did. Maybe she can, too. Leave it to an 8-year-old to be the adult in the room. So we tried. Slowly, cautiously. My mother started visiting once a week under strict conditions. No control, no manipulation, no judgment. The first visit was tense. Lena sat across from her like a tiny diplomat, asking simple. Silence stretched until finally, my mother whispered, "Every night." Lena reached across the table, placed her small hand over my mother's perfectly manicured one, and said, "Messy crying. We're not perfect. Some days I still wake up in a panic, afraid it's all going to be taken away again. Ryan and I argue sometimes about bedtime routines, about my tendency to work too much, about his stubborn refusal to let me replace that ancient Toyota with something safer. But then Lena runs in laughing, throwing her arms around us both. And all of it, it feels worth it. Just last week, Ryan built Lena an art studio in the backyard, a simple wooden structure with big windows. She painted a huge mural on the wall. Me, Ryan, her, and a baby with a question mark above his head. "What's this?" I asked, trying not to laugh. "That's my baby brother," she said matter-of-factly. "I'm manifesting him." Ryan almost choked on his coffee. "Manifesting?" She shrugged. "It worked for finding Mom, didn't it?" And honestly, she might be right. So here we are. A family stitched together from broken pieces, learning how to love each other one day at a time. But let me ask you this, because I can't stop asking myself. If someone stole 8 years of your life, if they played God with your future, would you give them a second chance just because a child asked you to? Because that's what I'm doing.